Awesome.
All right, welcome to the Bitcoin Core app design call number 64. I think it's been mostly designers. Devs are out right now, busy with dev things. Jakub will join in a little bit. And I put together a very small agenda, I mean, not that much, in the Google Doc that we use for notes. If you scroll down about halfway there or look in the sidebar, it says call on September 20. I just put the three things in there that seem to be the discussion points of the moment. One is Michael has been eager to show his update on the wallet import flow. We did at least one or two rounds of review already, and there was some feedback. I think 2 weeks ago, the whole group, including devs, went through one of the iterations of that and had a bunch of feedback, and then Michael reworked everything. Then we have the top navbar update, to which Jakub made some minor updates. But since he's just going to join for a little bit because he's on vacation, we might not need to cover that one. So I'm just going to put that as the third thing, because more important might be the research update. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Anything else to put on this list?
No.
I can just show this here. Okay, cool. Michael, since we're waiting on Jakub anyways, why don't you take us through?
Let's do it. All right. Share a window, and here we go. All right, so what I did, I already forgot. I posted a changelog last week, but what I remember doing is there was a little bit of confusion. The actual flow starts here, but there was a question on how you actually get to that to these initial screens. So I just copy and pasted the onboarding flow to kind of help see how you actually get here. And what we didn't have, or what I didn't have last time, was there was kind of one or two entry points, right? You have one when you have an empty wallet or you don't have any wallet at all, and one where you already have a wallet and you're adding another one. So these are the two main entry points, and so that was what I was adding here. And I just took one of the screens from the activity page and left it as is. So that's one of the changes. And one of the things that I did is I was thinking about whether to have kind of a specific, during if you're doing the onboarding stuff, whether to have an explicit screen at the end of the onboarding flow that says, "Hey, now create a wallet," or whether we should just just take me to the wallet, and you basically get to an empty state where you just don't have a wallet, and you see the normal nav bar here, and so that would be the starting point. So that's one of the things that I would like to discuss maybe first, before we go further.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I have one wrench to throw in this wheel here, or whatever the saying may be. So I don't know if this is a fringe scenario or not, but let's say so two scenarios. The fringe scenario is I say, well, I want a pruned node, but then then I want to import a wallet, and it requires, actually it doesn't even make sense. So that might actually be only something that happens later. Let's say importing a wallet requires you to go back in history and resync the blockchain. But thinking about it, that can't really happen right away. But it might be. There might be some fringe cases where it says, well, you set up your node, cool, then you import your wallet, and then it says, well, hold on, your node is not properly set up. You need to change something about your node setup because it's not set to, sync that data that you need for your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
That might be something just to double check. And the other scenario was where there was one feedback on the YouTube video from, I think, the research call or so, where someone said, well, I think this should be a really excellent node runner. Don't just, bury the node under the wallet, but this should function as a node runner only. So with the screen that you have there, it's basically says like, you're doing it wrong if you don't add a wallet, right? You're using this application wrong. So the alternative, which we already also discussed before, was during onboarding, having the option to create or import a wallet, but also having to say the option, no thanks. I do not want this application to use wallet features. I'm happy with this just being a node. And this no thanks could also be in here, right? There could be import, create wallet, and just say, no thanks, wallets suck. I'm a node user.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, for that user, or for the people who just want to use it as a node runner, obviously it would be kind of nicer or more intuitive to just say it here in the flow before, and not having to be exposed to the kind of wallet features, right? Or I mean, you wouldn't then see these kinds of activities, this type of navbar.
Yeah.
This is a very good suggestion from Christoph, because the community that we did the interview in, and that also made that YouTube comment, they pretty much only use Core for its node functionality. So they would definitely they would not be interested in importing any wallets. They would pretty much only want to see the node functionality UI. So yeah.
Right.
That's a pretty big one, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so that speaks for a more subtle prompt to add a wallet.
Yeah, I mean, if we put this, my keyboard is broken, I cannot exit from the comments. If we put that decision here, and I say I just want to use it as a node, I basically go somewhere else. But if I say, use a wallet or import one, then it would just basically skip. So this content would just be on a different screen, right? You're at the last screen of onboarding, basically.
Yeah, and then if someone chooses to use this as a node-only application, then I do wonder if we can design things a little bit different for them. For them, it might be node configuration will probably be pretty important, because I mean, most likely they're more seasoned users, right? And most likely they will also want to connect other applications. So using a QR code, copying, connection information or other stuff might be important for them. Yeah, but I guess that kind of splits if we really want to flesh this out, then we have kind of a fork in the road of onboarding, where you say, one person's going to go down the wallet route, the other person's going to go the node route. Yeah. I don't think we have to perfectly figure this out all the way. But we're just going to, like we've done with other things too, we're going to do the best version that we can right now. And then keep in mind that in the future we may need to flesh out certain areas in more detail. Cool.
For these node-only users, if they make up their mind after half a year and want to use the the wallet features, they still will need a way to access that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so either that's like a small plus add wallet thing in the top left corner, or whether it's in settings is something we can
Yeah.
figure out.
What options would the person need to have if the node is not properly set up? Because what would happen then if they try to create their wallet?
So I think this is a general situation. I think Harold has brought it up before. I'm
Mhm.
not sure if this can happen during onboarding, but let's say you have a phone with and like we'd suggest, well, you should use and run a pruned node. But then afterwards you import a wallet that requires you to go back further and sync more data and evaluate it. Then we would have to say, sorry, your settings don't work. Please update your settings. Or worst case scenario, we have to say, well, your device does not allow for this to work. Sorry, you can't import your wallet here. But this is just off the top of my head. We probably just have to figure that out or look more closely in that and also get dev input.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, there's a happy path, and then there are like these tiny little unhappy paths that people might when they go off the track.
Cool. I just made a little placeholder here to enter this fork in the road. Anything else before we move on? Or I hope I didn't interrupt you too soon.
Can I quickly jump in and suggest some things? It just came off the top of my head, so I don't know if it makes any sense or not. But uh, I have definitely used Bitcoin Core as a node only for a long time, and I think I would definitely want to do that in the future as well. Though I also want to have a wallet at some time. Use it as a wallet. Uh, I I wonder if we can maybe have some sort of a home screen after the onboarding that allows people to choose between the node view, the wallet view, or something like that. I mean, on a device, it would be sorry on a phone, it would just probably be like the bottom tab bar items, but on a desktop, it could be like two or three cards, and I could choose I want to use this as a wallet, and if I want to go back to using it as a node, I could go back to that home screen and maybe choose a node card and have that view, something like that, maybe.
I mean, right now we have this in the top nav bar, these options. And if let's say the first time you set it up and you add a wallet, you're in the activity screen, you're still going to see the node status because it hasn't synced yet. It can't even show you anything yet. So I think that first experience it'll be pretty obvious to you that there are two parts to this that go hand in hand.
Yeah, I really do love the fact that after the onboarding, it looks like the wallet nav bar just appears, and I think that's like a pretty seamless way to like take you into the wallet. I do like that for sure. Could we maybe just like have like a temporary pop up saying this is where you go and look at the block log, or is that a part of the onboarding already? I don't remember. Um, because the block log is there in the top right, so I could always go and access it as you said.
Yeah. Yeah, for the empty screen for sure. And I think we do have some mock-ups for that one. Hey, real quick, I think Jakob's on vacation. He just wanted to check in for a little bit, if I understand correctly. So I want to make sure he gets to say what he has to say, and we don't destroy his whole vacation here. But Yashar, then we can come back. Is it? Do I understand it correctly, or do you have time, Jakub?
I didn't get the word indication. I didn't get. Yeah. I might jump off maybe like 15 minutes before the call or something like that.
Okay. So should
like for
we try
half an
to
hour.
hop over to your stuff?
I don't really have anything. We just work on the UX research, and yeah, with the updates regarding the navbar, I added the state you asked for, but I didn't have time to work on the wallet selector. So I will just leave that for you guys for the next month or 2 months.
Cool. Yeah, I do think that the top navbar stuff, it's in a good shape. Where there's like some minor 1 or 2 states to finalize, but I feel like we can put this in the main file and then also create the design documentation on the website, and we can pretty much call that done. I think it's like everything will always relieve like some little bit of minor tweaks along the way, right? But I think this is an excellent shape to call it complete, unless anyone else feels like there should be major changes still.
I think the mobile should be at least verified with the other screens.
Mm-hmm.
How it behaves, because I didn't went that way. So that will be the next step with navigation, I think, except those minor states.
So should we already merge it and call it mostly done, or do you want to keep iterating and do more rounds of feedback?
No, I would merge it. Just yeah. I mean I guess the mobile thing maybe. Well, I think it's like it won't affect the desktop stuff. So at least the desktop stuff we can merge, and you can provide changes if you already see improvements. And the mobile, I think, should be probably fine with the last 4 one of the last 4 iterations I did. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And then, I mean, that's basically milestone 1.2, this top bar navigation stuff. Then what we're looking at here, what Michael works on, is milestone 1.3. So if we want to, we can then open up milestone 1.4, which is wallet creation, which will also pretty heavily rely or build on the wallet import stuff.
One thing, sorry. One thing, I didn't see those screens, Michael. Sorry, I plan to take a look and give you feedback. But one thing that comes from our research, and it comes from like a super hardcore power users, which are also like educating others and helping them setting their custom different kinds of custom self-custody. So they were kind of strongly, like most of them were, some of them were like strong, like even to completely separating wallet from the node functionalities, like and to allow, at least to allow users run just a node. But they are also but they are kind of fine with having this wallet functionalities, and they also argued like in extreme situations it will be useful, where I don't know other kind of software is hijacked or whatever. But they were saying like using Core as a wallet is kind of not safe, and you shouldn't run a node and have your wallet on the same as the same software, let's say. And they argued, as far as I understand, the argument is that with the node, you connect to many peers, and you are connected, and thus more easily identified, like in some situations. So what they suggested was to kind of discourage users to actually doing that. And by default, they are kind of suggesting to like by default suggesting like either running a node just or doing an air grabbed set with Bitcoin Core. So that's just, I'm just giving out their perspective even before we analyze the whole data, but just wanted to share their perspective on this.
Yep, that's interesting. I mean, that works when you have multiple devices. Like a lot of people who just have a phone in the world or so, they just don't have that luxury of splitting things up in that particular way. But yeah, for good privacy, that's something.
So maybe I think a lot of that you can kind of alleviate with just good explanations with our traders of setups, right? So if there's just Node, if there's a Node with the wallet, if there's a Node aircraft, like if we can somehow educate users about this, that would, I think, also be appreciated.
Yeah, we just spoke about that a little bit. Oh, Michael, I'm keep cutting you off. Go ahead.
No worries. No, I was about to say the same, that probably after kind of the onboarding, or at the end of the onboarding flow, we're gonna ask users what they want to do, or maybe just what you said, say, hey, you can use it just as a node, or you can use both features. And I think we agreed that this is the final wording that will go in there. But seriously, it's just a placeholder. But so that you, after onboarding or during onboarding, you say, I want to use it just as a node, or I also want to use the wallet features. And we're gonna probably then have to have some way to switch between these two modes in case you make up your mind after the fact.
Yeah, there's also in the build documentation, the UI, and this is really power users, like developers who built this from code, which hopefully a lot of people will do. You can say that you want to build this without a wallet, and then you're just going to have the node anyway. So in the designs, we also have to make sure that if this functionality is not even built into, like included in the code, that it still kind of works without any wallet features, and it just does node still.
Yeah, but they're like stressing the point that we shouldn't encourage bad privacy behavior, right? So we kind of shouldn't, even though it's like for UX it's good, right, to combine it. Their opinion was we shouldn't, like, core shouldn't encourage that. And one more thing, I mean, they're like super engaged. They have their own Discord community. When they also do like every week they do some kind of interviews or calls, like they record calls on Discord and upload this on YouTube, and we with Mo were there, and they're like very keen to give us feedback, cooperate. So I think it's very useful because they're very, very technical. They have very strong opinions and very strong they have very strong opinions, but they also help a lot of new users. So they interact with a lot of Bitcoin Core users who are basically using it first time. So they have a lot of perspective on that. And one of them actually tried the current build, so the node, and I think he even recorded that, and maybe he uploaded that on YouTube. I'm not sure, but they did some kind of session with that, and they were very interested in like doing it with the broader team. Especially, I think it'd be very valuable if they would somehow interact with the more technical side of our team. So yeah, because me and Mo are kind of restricted to that understanding we have. But if there be some developers as well there, that'd be I'm just wondering what kind of consensus would that or what kind of we could understand them even better at that time, I think.
Yeah, that's super cool.
It's a good community because I just jumped in there today and I replied to the message from the guy who's volunteering to help us out more. And I looked in the general channel and there's a lot of people who enter in that community and they start asking questions. And then the guys that we interviewed, I can send the Discord server link. And then the guys that we interviewed, they're actually helping to answer questions to these new users. So they're almost in this, like, you could almost say customer facing role for Bitcoin Core, and they're helping onboard people and educate people. So it's a really interesting community. Jakub, is it okay if I share the Discord server link? Is it
Yeah, no, I think it's public. Yeah.
All right, I'll share it in the chat.
Yeah, that's super cool. So that's so it's an interesting thing here. There are a lot of million ways to use Bitcoin in itself, and then even with the UI, you can use it in many different ways. And some of it, there's some stuff that should be baked into the default user experience, right? The happy path that will work well for the majority of the people based on our assumptions, feedback, iteration, all this stuff. Then within the happy path, you have these options like where you can go down and say, well, at this time, for this specific thing, I don't want the default, I want to customize it, right? Then you customize things. And that's also baked in the interface, basically. And then, but you can never bake everything into the interface, like connecting it to all these other wallets out there that exist or doing, I don't know, all kinds of things. But that's where we could have, that's where the bitcoincore.org website or the website for this application would ideally also give people more options. Like, hey, if you have multiple devices and you want to do this in the best privacy preserving way, here's how you do it. If you only have a smartphone, you want to do multi-sig with this other project, here's how you do it. So people could also kind of self-serve into their particular needs. And then you would have the community that then allows for answering specific questions. Like there's always this layering of stuff. But
yeah, that community is definitely a gold mine. It's really it's nice to jump in and see the conversations they have. They're really power users. It's really interesting. But yeah, nice to have them, and nice to have that connection as well.
That's awesome that you're in there.
When Jakub was like describing like the privacy risk of having using Bitcoin Core for Node and as a wallet, and I know that I think a lot of people, I'd say most of the people who run a Node run like a Bitcoin Core, right? So, but like for a wallet, they have a lot of options, and like I just thought like how amazing it would be if I could use Bitcoin Core on my laptop and then use Bitcoin Core wallet on my phone and then connect them to each other, so I don't have to use anything else, and I also get the privacy, I get the self sovereignty, and like that would be, in my mind, that would be the perfect setup for me, so I don't have to trust anybody.
And that's actually, I completely agree. Talking with them, I completely agree, because that's basically most of them. What they do is they have Core as a node, and they just connect it to Sparrow. Yeah, and use Sparrow as a wallet. So, and I even asked in the conversation, I asked if Bitcoin Core would allow for some kind of something like this, and you could have like two instances, one is a node, one is a wallet, and they were like, yes, that would be great. So I think that's, for these power users, that's definitely that's definitely a great, like, I mean, it'd be interesting. I don't know how it will be on the backend side, but even like if by default it would be a setup, maybe even on one machine, is it like, does it make sense? Like when you start a wallet, but it creates actually two. That's probably too far-fetched, but
yeah, it's the remote node idea. Yeah.
I'm wondering if it makes sense to jump into the research just very shortly, or if we want to finish Michael's one with the import up to flow, because that was.
Yeah, if Jakub's heading out, how about we continue with the research part?
Yeah, I just wanted to say let's continue on that thread and then come back to the import flow later. I think that makes sense.
So brief update. Sorting through that many interviews, Jakub and I were just like 1.5 hours busy. There was 3 of us on the call. We were all sorting through the data at the same time. We're still not finished. So that was before this call. So really, Jakub and Marek Thank you so much, because you guys helped out with interviews, you help out with sorting through data. It's not finished, but I can do a quick screen share of where we're at. And Jakub, you're as knee deep in this as I am, so feel free to jump in at any point. But we brain dumped in the beginning. We realized that we had 4 different sources of information. We had the Discord interviews. People were so keen in that community that they were answering the questions in the Discord chat. So we would be asking the people in the live chat the questions, and then they would actually answer the question in the chat. Like, this is how keen this community is. It's insane.
Just real quick, you have screenshots in here. That's not doxing anyone or anything, right? These names are all.
Public. Yeah, these are all in a public Discord channel, so okay. I think that they're okay.
Okay.
I think that they're okay with their names.
They also share that on YouTube publicly I think with comments as well.
Okay, great.
So.
Yeah, but good question from Christoph. And then we also have this YouTube one, which we copied and pasted here. Then we have.
Oh, I actually forgot about this. So this one has to be included.
Oh, do we still have to do this one? Okay, let's start that. Okay, so that's not processed. Okay, so yeah. Then we had the interviews, and then we also had the live YouTube recording. So we pretty much had to pull these 4 sources of information together, transcript them, all the different Google documents. So we came up with a plan of action. All of us had tasks that we had to do. I had tasks, Marek had tasks, Jakub had tasks. I sprinted this morning completing my one because I hadn't moved in my information in here. But what we're really trying to understand is the persona, and we're trying to understand the jobs to be done. And we think by going through all of the questions and bucketing the data, we'll be able to understand consumption. If we put consumption together with habits, we could get the jobs that the interface, jobs to be done. And if we, the persona would ideally be like how they're using the wallet on a daily basis, the habits, the things. So these two kind of overlap. And then we have this here, which is, this is all of the data pulled together. We have one set of interviews, which is people already using Core for reason X, Y, Z. And we have the other bucket of people who might be using Core. Where this data has been sorted so far is, Jakub, you can correct me here, I think we're around 60% with sorting through everything, maybe 70. We're trying to bucket the insights and try to understand, come up with buckets of information in terms of, what was the reason they actually signed up for using Core, self-custody, node running, consensus making, trying to bucket it into, Jakub did a good job over here, understanding how current users actually consuming the application. So, blockchain data seems to be a big bucket over here, checking network status. So he separated these out into the node running and into transacting. And then, there's going to be some really, juicy stuff that's going to be able to come out of here. And then the frustrating, Jakub was going through as well. The configuration was a pretty big one. And that configuration one was also, the sentiment of the configuration was also shared by the Bitcoin community as well. I don't know if you remember this as well, Jakub, they kind of kept on going on about the configuration settings.
There's one big thing here that we could research. There is this Jameson Lob configuration, Bitcoin Core configuration website, where you basically, it's just a form where you configure it, and they basically said, just include that in Bitcoin Core, because I haven't verified it, but supposedly it's much better described, it's much better adjusted, and I think the Bitcoin Core, the configuration file is just empty. at the beginning, and there's no like link to documentation. There's no any explanations how to configure it. It's a text file, but you can, yeah. So most of them just use JSON log configuration file. So I think like even for power users, embedding that in this kind of this service they use outside of core in the core somehow would be really good for configuration.
And the other question that I sneaked into the research was, I figured since we're focusing a lot on the community on Lightning wallets as well, we asked a lot of people which wallet they were using, just a very broad question. Then we got the name of the wallet that they were using, so Phoenix Breeze, Electrum Blue wallet. And then the next question we asked them was, we asked them what they liked about that wallet. So I kind of sneaked that question in because I wanted to also do some research on Lightning wallets as well. And this part here, so this is the wallet they use and the thing that they like about the wallet. This part over here, I'm still sorting through, and these are all of the cards that still need to be sorted through because it's just, yeah, it's spaghetti at the moment. So yeah, so that's pretty much where we're at the moment. Jakub, do you want to share anything?
One more thing that comes to my mind is that I think it'd be valuable to do like a kind of competition analysis with Sparrow and maybe Electrum. I know it's not direct competition, but and it's not exactly the same kind of software, but a lot of them use those, and those are also for power users, and we can analyze what's good in those wallets and what to what we can kind of incorporate UX-wise in the core. Especially Sparrow has been praised for some good visualization parts, UTXO management. So this kind of stuff. And below this interview, I tried to. There's a section when I put notes regarding Sparrow and Electrum separately. So maybe you can use that as well.
Yeah, so we'll do our best to. Jakub's going on holiday, so it'll be up to Marek and myself to continue sorting through this. They might be interested in using core. We haven't done any sorting of the data, but there's not too much. So yeah, it's a good bunch of information that we have to work with. So yeah, really nice to have done this research. It's going to be really interesting putting everything together. So yeah, that's it from us. Once we've processed it more, and I actually, at the end of the session with Jakub, we were sorting it for 1.5 hours. I was like, Jakub, I need to step away from my computer. My brain is totally fried. So I had a 1/2 hour break between that call and this call, and yeah, we'll keep on moving through it, and eventually it'll be really interesting. So yeah. I think a big win of this research sprint was actually so being able to get information on Lightning wallets as well, and then also being able to find this community which Jakub connected with, which I think is a big win, because they're going to be very supportive as we build. So yeah, that's it.
It's going to be so easy designing this and making everyone happy.
Super easy.
Do what we can.
Just save your brain some rest. Don't look at those sticky notes. Leave it to us.
We'll try to wrap it up in some kind of text, human readable form.
Yeah.
Exactly. We'll put it into the report.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Especially once you have it summarized, also always make sure to give people access to the raw source in case they want to verify that or come up with their own conclusions and whatnot.
Yeah, we have a raw script from the Discord. It's also a recording on YouTube, and we have interviews anonymized and notes from interviews. So everything is documented.
Yeah, and then it will be incredibly valuable as you tag along this design journey to kind of pull in relevant things, relevant bits and pieces of feedback as we talk about, and try to make design decisions.
One more thing, I also interviewed one guy who used Core to issue originals.
Okay.
It was kind of interesting, and he was technical, but he was coming from more Web3, kind of like kind of stereotypical Web3 place. So in a way, he's kind of like a separate persona, I would say. It's only one person in that kind of group, but he had a bit different, needs. So I think, it's also nice that I talked to him. Yeah, it's also included here.
That's a very valid point that Christoph made, is the timing at which the research is shared. Like, there's two ways of sharing research, and that's something I also learned from Saving Satoshi as well, is that you can share the research in this big long report for this like high level overview, enjoy it, have a read, get a bit of a high level overview, but then as the building is happening, it's more relevant to share when a particular part of the user flow is being worked on. So moving this research into a place where it's taggable and searchable, and then when they're working on the, setting configuration flow, you type in the word configuration, and every single comment that came up made about configuration is actually pulled up. So that's something that I'm definitely want to figure out how to do that to make it relevant. Don't know yet, but it will be figured out. Yeah.
Obsidian.
I don't know. Yeah.
Any type.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of tools can work.
Okay, so we have about 15 minutes. What should we continue with? Back to Michael.
I think the rest of the import flow should be doable in that time.
Okay.
If nobody has anything else. All right, let me reshare the screen. And Jakub, if you have to drop, enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, I'll stay. I'll manage to. I might do some other stuff, but I'll listen.
Cool. All right, so where we stopped is we discussed this kind of after the onboarding, at the end of the onboarding, that we're going to have some kind of decision point or fork in the road where you say, yeah, I want to just use it as a node with some educational material. I made a comment here based on what Jakub shared for my memory. And we'll have to revisit this kind of this empty state wallet, empty state screen. The other one still stands, I think, because you just want to add another wallet. And in that case, one way to go would be to either present the model or a separate screen, or in a flow where you say import or create new. Create new is milestone 1.4, so we're not going to look at that today. But basically, it would take you to a screen where I think the last time we said, okay, you can either upload a file or import a file, or paste an XPub or an address. So this is one way of how we could do that. Dragging and dropping is probably out of the question for mobiles. So there it would have to be something else. But in this case, you could drag it or choose a file from your computer, and then we basically have this decision tree that we looked at last time, where if the import is successful, there's actually just different variations of this success screen, and that was a question that we answered, I think, last time. It doesn't really depend on which type of wallet it is, as far as I understood, if I understood correctly. And yeah, you would load the transactions, and it may take some time. I took this screen from, I don't know where, Christoph
The main file, probably.
linked it. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so basically you're having this activity as long as it's loading the transactions, and once it's done, it's all there. And then we have these different use cases where a wallet update might be required. I say, okay, update. I update, and then there's another decision whether the update is successful. I think here it will just depend on. We'll need good copy, and also I don't know what exactly we do know about how much information we have about the reason why something failed. So that's going to be the input that we could use to kind of have different or relevant contextual error messages. But you'd basically have only one option to just go back and try again, or use maybe even a different version of the app, depending on what the response is. Yeah, but if it succeeds, then basically you'd go back to square one up here once the wallet is updated, and go through the same flow. Yeah, I think that's the gist of it.
Yeah. You know, you can with wallet creation and whatnot, we're going to have a lot of screens like this, and you can tell that we basically have several screen templates here, where it's pretty much the same. The button does something different, the text is a little bit different, icon slightly different, but layout, everything else is pretty much the same. I do wonder if we, from a design side, we can identify some templates and just define those, and then in these scenarios, just say basically the screen uses that template with this icon and this text. Like, especially for error messages, there's a million things that can go wrong. So it's, let's say some developers work on different errors and just want to set everything up. It's great when they know, well, here's a general template for errors that will always work, that we can just use and then come up with a correct copy for it. Because we have a hard time creating the copy for it as well. So yeah, you're thinking of it. Some of these in templates, I think, will be helpful.
Yeah, I think as well, and maybe it's could be even more granular to say, okay, these types of, let's say, situations, this type of message is something that could be a component that we can use in other screens as well. It wouldn't have to be the entire screen, this template, but the message itself could be a template. But this is just shooting from the hip now. But definitely, yeah, there are different, or there are a couple of screens that are just the same, more or less.
Yeah, and in the design guide, I shared the link. We have a small section about errors with some info about how to make a error screen successful, like telling people what's wrong, making sure tell them that their funds are not lost if there was ever a risk of that, telling them how to fix it and what to do next. And so maybe we can just borrow some of that. I had one. So overall, looks really good. One question I had is those different success screens. is just, what do we need to tell people? Let's say you add a multi-key wallet, add it. So on that screen particularly, the green color, the green check mark tells me it worked out. Multi-key wallet added tells me it worked out. I'm curious if there's actually a wallet name in the file that we can potentially state, say your savings wallet or whatever you called it was added. And then in the text, should we state something? I mean, do we have any information that we can say? This is a 2 of 3. Last time you checked it was a year ago. Maybe do a health check. I don't know. We're going to rescan the blockchain for you. It might take about 10 minutes. Just, is there anything else before we kind of throw people into the deep end here? Or not the deep end, but into the activity screen. And maybe there isn't anything, but might be good to.
I think this might be related to something I was about to suggest. I think like Michael has like thought of like so many things, so many cases. That is awesome. One thing that I think I've noticed in some of the apps that I've used is that before the wallet is added, like after you put in the xpub, and after that, before the wallet is officially added, I get like a preview screen saying, so this is this type of a wallet, this is the address type, this is the derivation path, this is the XFP, and that is something that is very important for wallets. And like that information before the wallet is added seems like something that was very useful for me. Like uh, I think a few wallets will also give you the first generated like 5 or 10 addresses, so that you can like annually check that not only is all the information that I just talked about is right, but also the addresses that are generated are the ones that are my addresses, and you can verify that. And after that, we officially add it. Maybe here we could also like say, this is the name, as you said, from the backup file if there was a name, and they could maybe add a name to the wallet, like at that point.
Actually, flowing off what Yashraj is saying is that, like, let's say the GUI automatically picks up the name of the wallet that the person imports and it calls it by that name. But what if that person wants to call it by a different name? Would there be an editing option to change the name of the wallet somewhere, or?
I would put some of that stuff later. So
Yeah.
the stuff like derivation path and all of these things, it's so there's so the derivation path and what Yashash mentioned is basically show me some information that I can verify that this actually worked out. I don't trust this little green check mark here. I'm going to check myself. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we could either repeat it here, or like Mo, what you were saying is we could link you directly to wallet settings, where so we don't rebuild this UI here, but we say, well, don't take me to the activity screen, but take me to wallet settings where I can go in and I can verify all of this stuff myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like thinking people might be like, oh, like I want to call that like my, I don't know, my savings wallet, or I want to call that my, long-term, I don't know, they can have different like buckets in which they're saving Bitcoin, and maybe they want to, bucket it by the name of the wallet. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I would keep it simple and just send people to the settings page or so, and just let them edit things there, because you end up rebuilding a lot of UI in multiple places. But yeah, it's good to have access to that. The question is, does it have to be here? Do all these options have to be repeated here, or can we just link people to the place where those are?
That seems like a better solution. Keep this really simple and go back to settings. Yeah.
Yeah, here in my background, I pulled up this family wallet app that I tested last week or so. So what they allow you to do is you can pick a color and you can pick an emoji, and then that becomes part of the, and it looks like a credit card for them. And they give you this visual preview like, your wallet's ready, and then it looks like you have a credit card. And then they point out this backup option, and then they take you through this series of screens where you explain the secret recovery phrase and what it is, and not to share it, and some of this stuff. So that's pretty. So we don't have that, of course, in core, but it's good amount of text here, right? They take you through this in a lot of detail. But it did, when I clicked through it, I mean, I'm very familiar with it. I'm not a newcomer, but it did feel pretty digestible. I don't know if that's the case for a newcomer, though, but
Yeah, my point was just like regarding maybe keep it like an optional thing, but before I added, like sometimes I want to know that like I added the right wallet, because if I like made one word mistake, I like still have a valid wallet, but it's not the right wallet. Or even if I got everything right, maybe the addresses that I want, like I was using, let's say, like a native Segwit wallet, and when I imported it, if I by mistake, like actually the XPub, YPub, CPub scheme should take care of that, but like just to make sure that this is the right wallet, and maybe that's something only for advanced users, and regular users don't want to do it, so it can maybe even be an optional like optional thing that you can do before you officially add it in.
it's a good point. I'm not sure if we have those options, because Bitcoin Core App uses basically a wallet file that contains everything. So you don't really add, a recovery phrase where it kind of has to brute force and figure out where there even is any data or any transactions or so stored. So it might be actually simpler here because of the wallet.dat file. I don't know if we get into descriptors or so, maybe there is, but descriptors are meant to basically include all the information you need. But that's a good thing to check with the devs. Like, is there any risk here that it wasn't imported correctly, or that the user meant something different that they may want to verify and correct? Yeah, like what do I need to know here to know, like the check mark means, okay, technically it worked out, but is that what the user meant? How, and what can they do to verify? Like multi-key wallet, you could just say, well, this is a 2 of 3 wallet. And then once I see the transactions pop in, I'll probably know, okay, this looks about right. But is there something else? Anything else? Yeah. Okay, this would also all be good stuff to document in the design docs as well, all these considerations, because we might have to come back to them at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm making just Figma comments for now, but definitely probably in a more structured format would be better.
By the way, you guys can also, you're very welcome to help contribute to the design documentation. It would be really awesome. On the website,
I try.
basically, that's what I mean by design docs.
Will do.
Maybe at some point we should have a session to go over the design docs together.
That's a very good idea.
Cool. All right, so we're at the hour. How about we wrap it up? Unless you, ladies and gentlemen, really would like to continue, and that doesn't mean the end of the conversation. You can post 1 million messages online, or in Figma, or in Discord, or Twitter. Well, it doesn't exist anymore, so wherever you want. Nostra. Jakub had the Nostra shirt. Way to go.
Yep, let's wrap it up.
Good job, Jakub. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool. Thank you all. I'm going to stop the recording. Thanks. Well, Harold is going to watch this up to the last minute, so thanks for tuning in, Harold. I hope we captured everything for you. So I'm going to stop here. Thank you all.